In this video, I will provide you with a couple of examples. I will not be providing you with step-by-step instructions. You can turn the video off here. I hate to, sometimes I put a title together for a video and it's a little misleading, and I don't want to do that. So if you're watching this video and you're looking for step-by-step instructions, go somewhere else. You're looking for a basic idea about how it can be assembled, or even the process, kind of what steps you take, what you do first, something like that, then you are in the right spot. In this example, for this particular shed, you will simply pour a concrete slab. This doesn't really need a lot of footings for something like this. I know, and again, this is just my opinion. You can pour footings if you want, but in this example, we are just going to use a concrete slab that is 4 inches thick. You can make it thicker, and it just sits on top of the soil. Nothing spectacular. And here are the 8-foot by 8-foot walls, and 8-foot walls are good, which we'll see in a moment here, for plywood siding. Plywood is 4 foot wide. The walls you use, they're going to be 8 foot tall, 2 pieces on each side, and you are good to go. Front door, this shed just has a door, no windows. And you can see the bottom plates, how the door is framed. And of course the bottom plates here, treated wood is always good for the bottom plates. And they will need to be fastened with some type of pins or anchor bolts. And these pins can be, actually, I've done this before. I've just driven them in with a hammer if the concrete is not that dry. I mean, you know, concrete would be hard, obviously, but I've driven them in just with a regular hammer before. But you can use a pneumatic tool for that, and you go down to your local home improvement center to find that. Here's the header for the door, a 4x4 with the cripples on top, 2 top plates. And the top plates will be joined at the corner with lapping framing plates, so you can make a nice strong connection there. And that's it for the framing. Next up on the list will be ceiling joist. And for something like this, I say ceiling joist. These can actually be just rafter ties. They don't need to be something unless you're going to put a ceiling in your shed. If they are, then they're going to have to be ceiling joists. Roof rafters, the ridge, and again, I'm not showing you how to cut every component, just kind of showing you how it goes together. I wanted to point out that since it's only going to be 8 foot wide, you can actually get away with just putting 1 rafter tie down the center. Most rafters ties are spaced 4 foot on center. 8 foot shed, we divide it in half, and what do we have? 1 is all we're going to need. Seat cut on the rafters are blocks, and of course if you're going to use a 2x6, you might have to notch it. The pitch on this roof is a 4 12, about 18 degrees. The ridge needs to be a little larger than the rafters. We're using 2x6 roof rafters, a 2x8 ridge, and another view of it there. Next up on the list will be to install your gable studs. These will just be wall framing studs with an angle. Angle will match the slope of the roof. And I like to have a board that will attach to the ridge and to the plates, and then attach to the support for the ridge. And this just makes a nice connection here. You just put the board in here, just in the center. It's not going to be as strong. I've actually knocked these out before when I was installing my siding. So this is a nice way to do it. Make sure that you lay out your wall studs so that the siding breaks will break half on the ones in the center for these 8 foot walls. Fascia board, 2x8 fascia board. You can use 2x6 if you want. And I would imagine for an 8 foot shed like this, you could use 2x4 rafters with 2x6 ceiling joists. That'd probably be fine, depending on what area you have. Areas with snow loads, you might not be able to do that. This shed doesn't have any, or this fascia board doesn't have any outlookers on it. These would be outlookers or 2x4s that get notched into the exterior rafter and then go all the way back and help to support the fascia board on the edge. And I would think that something like this would be fine with an 8-foot span just connecting to the fascia board and to the ridge. Put the sheathing on. Make sure that your sheathing breaks half on the rafters. And that's looking good. Next step would be to install your roofing. And of course, you could always put your siding on before your roofing, but I like to put the roofing on so that it protects everything in case it does rain. So I like to have the roofing on before I put the siding on. There's the siding. Okay, we're done with that. 4x8 sheets of plywood work out great for 8-foot walls. Make sure that you have the wall studs located half on, like I said, so that the plywood breaks and you can nail both sides of the plywood to the wall studs. And if for some reason this gap is a little larger, you might cut the angle wrong or something like that, you can always put a piece of trim up here. Maybe a 1x2 would be fine. The plywood should hang down at least a ½ inch below the top of the footing to allow water to drain off. If it's above this, then the water could actually drain in between the plates and into your shed. And I'll leave it up to you whether you're going to use building paper. You can always install building paper, some type of a water, I don't want to say it's a waterproof, water-resistant membrane that will provide you with a little more security in case it does rain or snow in your area. You know, if you built a shed like this without any building paper in the desert where it doesn't rain much, you're probably going to be fine. Paint everything and you're good to go. I wanted to give you an idea what the top would look like here up against the blocks. Next step would be to install the trim, then the door. Let's go ahead and take a look at the trim. The trim usually lines up with the bottom of the plywood siding. Nice to have a little gap here. You can always put a threshold in if you wanted for your door, or leave a little gap. How much of a gap? I would like to see at least a ½ inch gap there. The trim on the corners, you can put it on just like this. Have one piece. You'd install this piece first, and then this piece right here would be even with it, or you can set it back a little. And of course you can see here where the plywood doesn't come together all the way, where the trim is going to create a nice finish. Give you a view of what the bottom trim would look like. You might have to do a cut like this, might be a little fancy to make everything look nice. But again, you could always cut this piece, install this piece, and put a filler board in here. Done that before. The shed there. Around, and this is it for our video. That is it. You have a complete shed. Like I said, these weren't step-by-step instructions. Just wanted to give you an idea of what could be involved if you were going to build a shed like this. And for those of you who only need a few pictures and a video like this, I hope it helps.